Hello and welcome to another episode of Gaming at the Round Table with Crystal, Maverick, and myself, Jojo. Today we're going to be covering a few different topics and we'll let Mav lead us in.
Sure thing. So it's been a few podcasts since we went through free games and what's happening in the industry. So we're trying to renew that cycle currently. It's for us, it is May 23rd today. And I'll go ahead and dive in with the Epic Game Store that I had pulled up. We had a couple of free games listed. They mainly were focusing on some of the gotchas that are coming out, but the actual free game that's like weekly is currently listed as Farming Simulator 22. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
worth mentioning that they get a free game on this platform, Epic Games, every week. And so that week is actually rolling up. So tomorrow, by the time this podcast is out, it will be the current. They have a mystery game set to release on the 24th of May. So be sure to check out the Epic Game Store to see what their newest one is. Personally, I'm not super stoked about Farming Simulator, so I'm excited. What's funny is that it's Farming Simulator 22, and like no shade to the devs, obviously they're succeeding, but like how do you make 22 versions of a farming sim? That's crazy. Unless it's like Farming Simulator from the year 2022, which
Hey, listen. It first of all, it is year 2022, but new equipment comes out. You got to get the updated game to get the newer equipment.
The
could you imagine they based it off
new
on.
backhoe.
No, I'm pretty sure it does. It's literally it's got like John Deere and stuff in it.
I can see in like 10 years from now, someone's going to dig up this podcast and be like, look at you bigots, anti Southern. And it's like, we're pretty far south in the US. We're really far south.
Hey, I think I would love the game because I play a lot of farming simulators in general. So
Yeah, that's true. So 524, they'll have their next one. And before I pass it along, it's worth mentioning that in their Epic Games section, they're showing things like Disney Speedstorm, which we should probably talk about at some point. It's like Mario Kart 3D with for Disney specifically. Uh, there's a whole conversation to have about that. And then on the bottom of their stuff, they're actually offering RPG Maker Unite a free trial for it. So for any other people like us who are interested in game development, that might be something worth your time to check out. Other than that, they've got the standard free games listed. Most of them have been out for a while, but there's one in particular we'll circle back to, which is Wuthering Waves, which releases today, or did release today, the 23rd of May. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let's move along to Crystal and the PlayStation.
yes, so the June games for PlayStation are NBA 2K23, which is your classic basketball game. Jurassic World Evolution 2. I actually had to look this one up because I was curious as to what it was. Um, but it looks like it's like one of those you build the park, kind of like a Sims game.
It really feels like a lot of the games in the last half year, especially, have been heavily focused around farms and like
People like that.
simulating, yeah, crafting, gathering, and farming seem
Yeah.
to be huge in the gaming industry currently.
Now, the last one is called Trek to Yomi. Yomi? Yomi.
That
Um,
sounds. Did you already pull it up?
I did. However, it doesn't tell me anything about it. Let me look at the Wikipedia.
It looks like some sort of samurai game.
It does, yes. But it doesn't. It like when you pull up the website, the actual website. First of all, you got to put your birthday in, which means that it's
Violent.
violent. Yeah, and then second, it takes you to a screen where it's like buy it or watch the trailer. Those are your two options.
Well, Trek to Yomi is a 2022 side scrolling action game developed by Flying Wild Hog and published by Devolver Digital. Set during
Mm-hmm.
the Edo period of feudal Japan, the game follows a young swordsman who probably is going to get revenge or something like that. Let me see.
Yeah.
Young swordsman. I had to change pages there to pull it up. Young swordsman named Hiroki, who embarks on a quest of vengeance when his home village is burned, leading... Oh, I was right. Vengeance. Samurai's vengeance. Yeah. All right. That did not take us... And it's a side-scrolling game, so naturally it's going to be kind of full of... I can't read, think, and talk. I can only do 1.5 of those 3. Who embarks on a quest of vengeance when his home is burned, leading him to enter Yomi, the Japanese underworld, and confront the evils of his past. It was released on PS4, PS5, Windows, Xbox One, Xbox Series in May 2022, and followed by a Nintendo Switch port in January of 23. It received mixed reviews from critics. So there you go. It's a side-scrolling vengeance samurai game.
I'll probably try out the Jurassic World.
That's 2 for 2 so far.
But now I'm going to pass it over to Joe for Xbox.
So for Xbox, the current lineup for June, they've only had 2 games confirmed so far, which I'd be lying to you if I knew anything about either of these 2 games. First one up is Rolling Hill Make Sushi, Make Friends. So I'm assuming it's one of those cooking with friends type games, which my kids, for whatever reason, love. And they continuously make me play it with them. And
That's cute.
For whatever reason. And then the second game is Still Wakes the Deep. So
I think I've heard of that one.
And again, those are the only 2 confirmed for June. Currently in May, they've had some pretty big titles come out on their Game Pass. The biggest one would be, if I'm saying this wrong, I'm sorry, it's Suena's Saga, Hellblade 2, which received quite rave reviews on the first one. And so far, I'm hearing good things on the second one. But it came out for free on the Xbox Pass, which is a big bonus. Since the other 2 co-hosts that I'm with are anti-Xbox.
What?
The second one you said, or the first one is?
No, the second one it just came out on Xbox Pass.
Oh, that's actually really impressive.
They've had a couple like AAA titles on day of release come out on the Xbox Pass. That's one of them. Their first one was Halo Infinite.
Yeah. No, Senua's Saga, or the Hellblade series, really, because they had Hellblade 1. Senua's Saga, Hellblade, and same thing, Hellblade 2. They're pretty widely liked in the industry. At least the second one was widely anticipated. The first one was widely loved. I don't know how the second one was received, but it was released in 2024, so I'm really surprised to hear that
it was released this week. Like the day that it released, it was released on the Xbox Pass.
Wow, Xbox is really pushing to get those Pass subs then.
Yeah, that was their main selling point, and kind of why I signed up for it was that you can get at least one AAA title every so often, released the day that it's released in the market for free on the Pass. Well, for the subscription price.
So that's interesting because, Crystal, let me know if you remember differently, but I don't recall ever seeing a AAA title on release for the PlayStation.
No.
Of any tier that I can think of.
No.
So that is impressive. I'll give them that. I mean, you do whatever you got to do.
But yeah, they started with that the moment that they announced their Pass program.
Okay. Well, that is actually quite impressive and something to look forward to. So it sounds like we're having 2 losses and a win here on things that we're, as a group, excited about. Mm-hmm. I did pull up the Nintendo store just to see if they actually have like free games, and they do have free games, but it's hard for me to tell which ones are free, like Fortnite, Pokemon Unite, Tetris 99, Sky, Children of Light. These are all, I think, free on all platforms and not really specific to...
Free to play just in general.
Right, exactly. So I see a bunch of free to play games on theirs, but I don't necessarily see like a specific to them thing, or maybe they have a subscription I'm not aware of. So it is something we'll have to look into for Nintendo. Still Wakes the Deep was a horror game, and from what I recall, it was pretty decently reviewed. It's just I don't play horror games. I don't watch horror movies.
I don't
It's
think any
just
of us do.
it's not
Out
my
of our
jam.
3 hosts, I don't think any of us do, or go out of our way to watch it.
I think Crystal once put on a VR headset, and we were standing on a building or something like that,
Oh my gosh.
and looking
So-
down.
Yeah, and like an alien was trying to, like a UFO was trying to abduct you or whatever. And the whole point is that think of like you're on the tallest building, right? And there's just, for some reason, a wood panel, very thin, that you have to walk out onto.
Plank.
Yes.
Yeah, a plank.
Walk
While
the plank on the Empire State Building.
there's an alien above you. So you're walking and you look down and all you see is the street below you and like the
Sounds like a solid pass.
when I tell you, like, everything in my body was screaming. I was so terrified. I don't even remember how it ended. I think I just ended up being like, nope, I'm done. I don't want VR anymore. I don't like it.
And that was, for I have to sneeze. Excuse
Bless
me.
you.
Thanks in advance. That was the extent of the horror games that we played together. I would probably play a game like Dead Space.
I think that was the only one me and you played together.
Yeah.
The second one? Or third
Maybe.
one?
Isn't Bioshock kind of
Oh,
So there are games
Yeah,
like
it's
that
in the-
where, that's kind of what I'm trying to get at too. Is there are horror-like games I would play if they're primarily about either their mechanics or their story, and it's not story of like don't get your face eaten kind of thing,
Yeah.
but an actual legitimate story that you're trying to adventure through. I can kind of do that. I remember the first Saw movie, Saw 1.
That was good.
I watched that movie and I legitimately enjoyed the movie. And
That's
I don't
messed up.
like horror at all because it was at the time groundbreaking mental
Twist.
stimulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I feel about the genre in gaming. I'll play games like Dead Space because they're not just about getting scared, but games like even Silent Hill. Well, maybe not. No, not Silent Hill. I won't play Silent Hill.
but I think that's why I can watch like the Aliens franchise or like Predator or something like
Yeah.
that, because it's not like horror in the sense of like there's a demon coming to take your brain type thing, but there's something way bigger than you or way stronger than you coming after you, and I think it's a different type of fear.
My
Yeah.
grandma is a very big fan of horror movies.
Really?
There's always
Oh
one.
yeah.
She's so small and cute.
I used to be a very big fan of horror films, but then I took my husband to Hollow Scream at Busch Gardens and quickly discovered
This
that
doesn't
he
need
was
to
not
go
a
to the
fan.
internet.
Well,
Thank
I'm
you.
not gonna tell the stories from it, but I know he wasn't a fan, and then I watch a bunch of stuff with him, so that horror love just kind of went out the window. And now I don't think I could sit through one of those movies without being like, no, I'm good. I'd rather these feel good stuff instead.
Yeah, and just to defend myself, dear internet, I didn't scream or do anything crazy at a theme park.
I mean,
it just wasn't enjoyable.
He ran like 25 miles per hour through one of the houses.
That, mind you, okay, that's out of context. Thank you very much. It's not like I was running out of fear. We were in a house. They hand you a gun and they say,
it's a fake gun. It's
go,
a laser
go,
gun.
go, like shoot things and keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. So I went into like mission mode, target, 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 target. And it was like going through like we have a mission to do. And
we saw two very different things.
And her family is just like, cool gun.
We were walking around and being like, pew, pew, pew. Look at the sights. Pew, pew, pew. Okay. And
look
he
at the
was
sights.
like,
There's nothing to look at.
There were zombies and like really cool,
I went with Adelie one year and we've never gone back because it was blowing her mind that I wasn't reacting to certain things. Because, again, I have a habit of scanning most places that I'm walking into, and there's a couple moments where people would like swing down or pop out.
Yeah.
And I remember we walked into one place, and the guy swung down and was pretty much face to face with me, and I just kind of looked at him and was like, hi. And it blew her mind, and even the person who did it was like, you didn't even flinch. I was like, I knew you were there.
Yeah. I don't have that premonition. It's more like try not to punch anybody in case they jump too close to you kind of thing.
And that's when I discovered I'll never go back to something like that with Maverick, because
there's a reason why if I do scare him, it's from a corner and not in front of him.
You've made me punch so many walls. It's ridiculous. Anyway, back to video games of the month. Rein us in a little bit. So there were a couple here, and I'm glad I wrote these down. The Rolling Hills Make Sushi Make Friends actually looks really cute. It got that 3D Wii-like aesthetic.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, my kids love those games.
And yeah, it's very cute looking. I'll bet that it is legitimately fun, and if nothing else, it's got a nice vibe to it. And then what was the other one? I lost my tab, so oh well, that's okay. Wuthering Waves. Have you guys heard of this game at all?
I haven't.
I have heard of it, but I have made it a thing to skip every clip that has been posted about it, even the commercials and stuff, because I have every intentions of trying the game, because I know it's up my alley due to the fact that people are comparing it to Genshin Impact. So I already know I have to try it. But I'm trying not to consume too much information on it because I desperately want that first reaction to be real rather than...
It's hard to do these days.
Yeah, it's real hard. So, funny enough, I was excited for Wuthering Waves, excited enough to pre-register. And on the topic of pre-registration, they actually surpassed Genshin's pre-registration numbers. Now, one source, which is Tech Raptor, says that they passed the 16 million pre-registration mark that set the de facto standard that Genshin had. And no one had really done that for a while, and certainly very few people. I'm not even sure anyone has other than Wuthering Waves, but if there are people, it's very few. Supposedly it was almost like double that, like 30 million, something crazy.
It looks a lot like Genshin, just more guns.
Yeah, and so Genshin's creators, Hoyoverse, are going to be releasing a similar aesthetic. It's not as dark because there's so many things I want to say. Where do I start? So Wuthering Waves is a post-apocalyptic action gacha game. It's not going to overtake Genshin, I don't think, and I'll go on record saying this, because it is innately a single-player experience. So games like Blue Protocol, which is an upcoming anime gacha MMO, I think they have things like that might have a chance to dethrone the king. I really think that they could.
I doubt it.
But any game where it's primarily going to be played single player, the only way they're going to include co-op is like what? If it's not an MMO, it's going to be leaderboards, right? Which means leaderboards are always dominated by whales.
Yep.
And most people, by definition, can't be whales. So,
what is a whale technically in that regard?
A whale in the gacha industry, so you have free-to-play players who don't pay any money. You have low spenders and dolphins who spend very little to, a few $100, which sounds like a lot to some people, but it's not when you think about what whales spend. Whales spend tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I remember Tectone, who's a famous person on YouTube for gacha games, at one point seeing a video of his like 3 years ago or something like that, at the start of Genshin. So think about that. Genshin's been out for years. Near the beginning of Genshin, I remember seeing him having spent like 50 G's.
That hurt. That just hurt my heart. I felt it in my chest.
And he's not, by far, he is not, the top of the whales. So that's why when I say, dolphins who spend a few $100s, yeah, that's insane for a video game. But it's not insane when you compare them to the people that are spending like annual salaries on these gacha games.
These are the people that are C6ing or 5ing every single character that's released.
And that means nothing to the non-gacha community.
Oh, so they're completely maxing out the characters, or completely unlocking them. And to kind of put that into a little bit more of a comparison, so $100 doesn't even get you 90 pulls, which is a guarantee character. So, it's 180 pulls total.
So ignoring the average math, because there's a difference between like what you could do, because you could get lucky and get something early, and there's statistics around that. But let's ignore that. Genshin, the most famous, most successful, largest free-to-play gacha currently, it's roughly $200 based on the packs you have to buy to guarantee a single copy of a character. So when Crystal says C6 a character, that means get 6 duplicates. So if you're not lucky, which statistically you won't be, to C6 a single character and max them out, you have to spend 200 times 6.
It's $1,200.
Right, $1,200. Now, to get their weapon, that's what she meant by the R5, Refinement 5. Joe's sitting here like, it goes, wait, you do more? There's more? Right?
The weapon's even worse.
Now I remember why worse. I kind of like walked away. And I'm like looking at this preview and I'm like, why does this feel like Genshin?
I'm going to say this and knock on wood, but my account is blessed by the gods.
Yeah, she just pulled like 2 characters in 10 pulls recent. Anyway, the whole premise that I'm trying to make here is that Genshin is successful despite being an obvious gacha game, and it's not special in that way. It's not the worst gacha out there. But what Genshin does well is 2 things. One is it has a cooperative experience. It is limited, but it's there. Crystal and I play it together every single day, and that cost us nothing, right? And so there's that. The other aspect is that they don't have what I'm going to call the PvP gacha trap, which is where a lot of gachas make money by preying on the need competitiveness, right? When you get stomped, you're like, oh, I'm going to get that special weapon. I'm going to get this meta character. I'm going to spend the money to do these things so that I stop getting rolled. Genshin, you don't really compete with anybody. I think the only PvP I've ever seen in that game was a limited time event that's going on now, and I hate it, where it's hide and seek, and it's just like it's just a temporary event that you're supposed to play with friends and have fun. But I don't like PvP of any kind, even if it's innocent 4-year-old PvP hide and seek. I hate it.
Yeah, I struggled to complete that event, and even then I didn't do it all the way through. I just got the Primo Gems and called it a day. Like, I was not about to get all of the rewards from it. I wish they would remove it.
This is why I think Wuthering Waves is not going to get even close to toppling Genshin in the long run, because they don't have either of those 2 factors. Wuthering Waves absolutely is going to have a leaderboard because it's a single-player experience. And by default, it is a single-player experience. So I can't see it.
Honkai Star Rail also is a single player game. They don't have not a PvP, but a leaderboard thing. They have an abyss and stuff like that. So maybe they'll go down the route of like a hard end game content or something.
Yeah, which is kind of what Star Rail mainly does. Yeah.
Right. So there's a possibility. Again, we don't know because we haven't We haven't touched the game yet, but
It
I
just
look
came
forward
out
to
today.
trying it. Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
I downloaded it already. I'm waiting for this podcast recording. When we're done, I'm like, all right, Wuthering Waves, let's check this out. I'm talking all this smack, and I'm gonna play the game.
Yeah, don't spoil it for me.
I will not.
I want to wait a little bit because I've heard bad things so far.
I've heard nothing. So there's that. The third reason I think it's not going to be able to topple Genshin is that its aesthetic and world setting. I look, and for those who've never played it, I understand, but the makers of Genshin had a big game before Genshin. Obviously, not on the same caliber, but it was big in its gacha community, and it's called Honkai Impact Third, and it is a post-apocalyptic setting, action, fast action-paced combat, just like Wuthering Waves. And the character designs are a little bit more adult, like Wuthering Waves, and all this other stuff. So, to me, it is a exercise in futility to expect to do better publicly than someone by mimicking their strategy and doing less than their strategy, right? They don't have the co-op, they don't have the PvE focus, and they're relatively copying the aesthetic and
I thought it was Genshin when I just looked at it. Or like from the same people.
From the same people, right. And so it makes sense. They're going to make money, right? Like, I'm not saying they're not, but it's going to be temporary. I say in half a year, it will still be around, but we're going to be talking about games like Blue Protocol and Final Fantasy 14 still.
You know what? I don't even give it half a year. And the reason I say that is because we're in June. We've got 2 months before Genshin, or not, yeah. Wow, my brain just absolutely stopped working. Anyways, we have 2 months until Genshin's new area, new
map,
Archon, Jesus, drops. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't give it that long.
And it's not even a month for Final Fantasy 14's next expansion pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a pay. Oh no, I was gonna say pay one time, you're good to go type thing. It's not.
It's a subscription model, but it's pretty reasonable. I mean, most gamers are spending $15 a month. Like, let's be real. Unless you don't have money, you're spending $15 a month on a game. Some game.
No.
I don't work for Square Enix, but I will take commissions. All right, so that topic aside, despite my naysaying of it, we are going to check it out and we will report our findings. Hopefully, I'm kind of mistaken about it, and hopefully the news Crystal has heard is not all bad and all true.
The only news that I've heard is the server issues.
Okay.
So I haven't heard about the game itself. I've only just heard about how bad the server issues are. So that's why I want to wait. I want to play it. I want to play it like now, but I'm waiting because I want to experience the game when it's not broken and, being overloaded. So
when it's not a baby giraffe trying to figure out how to walk.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, nothing's more frustrating than sitting down to play a game and then it will not work.
Yes.
We've already talked about that at least 3 times on this podcast. But I'm gonna push us along since we're kind of running out of time here. I know that one of the last games we wanted to talk about was actually the Paper Mario that was released.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know much about that. That was one of you two that came up with that.
I saw it. I didn't know a lot about it. In fairness,
listen, officer, it was 1, maybe 2 drinks, but like
I seen it. I swear. It's Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door.
Yeah,
which sounds like they're almost trying to take from Bleach's title, which I thought was kind of funny.
What do you mean Bleach's title?
Because Bleach, the anime that just released not too long ago, is the arc of the 1,000-Year Blood War or something. So when you see the 1,000-year door, it looks like they were playing with it.
Maybe, but didn't it come out in like...
Well, that arc of the manga has been out for a long time, but they didn't animate it until this past year, I believe.
This
That's-
looks ridiculously cute.
Paper Mario?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I thought this Paper Mario was a remake. I remember
There was an old school Paper Mario.
Right. So this is not a reimagining, but literally they just take
newer,
the game
yeah.
and like make it, update the graphics and all that kind of stuff.
Because they've done that with a couple of the Marios. Because they had a Mario like painting type thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember it had a game that I absolutely loved, which was literally a fly swatter.
I remember that.
I knew you would if I said it, but I would play that for hours, and it was the most simple, your mind wasn't even. You just sit there and smack as many flies as you could in the game. That was it.
Yep.
And it was a bunch of different modes. Like you could paint, you could do a bunch of other things, but that one specific mode was like end all be all for me.
Yeah. So I think the Paper Super Mario came out in 2004, which I'm sure some people weren't. Some adults. Adults weren't even born.
Yeah.
I don't think so. So I
That's
think we're gonna wrap it up on that one.
Yeah.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Gaming at the Round Table. Again, with Crystal, Maverick, and myself, Jojo.
Bye.
Bye-bye. 80.